Good chat. Um, Brandon, do you have anything in mind?
I can't hear Brandon.
I can't.
Still can't hear me?
Now I can.
Zoom did something weird on a recent upgrade. And so I backed it out and then I checked and it looked like it was good on the newer update. So I thought I was good with the new version, but who knows? Yeah, unmute yourself. It just picks no mics.
Yeah, Zoom keeps messing with my microphone too. And my headset as well. So oftentimes I'll be like, I can't hear anyone. Is anyone talking? Oh, it's me. Okay. I need to unplug things or sometimes like leave and join back.
Well, the one that really annoyed me was I would mute and unmute. And when I unmute, it messed the microphone up in between the process of me muting and unmuting. And so I think I've got it right for a meeting and all of a sudden it just breaks every single time. It's the worst. But my comment earlier, I think, Nisha, you had the issue out there for the maintainer nomination template. Is that the one you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, just to consolidate things that I need to change. So is it not putting the headings or putting the headings but with some detail underneath?
I was mostly going off of Brandon's comment. I think that those categories are too vague or maybe don't cover everything. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, you're saying put like a markdown comment with like examples.
Yeah. Did my microphone break again? No, you're hearing me? Okay. So yeah, the thought process I had in there was just people are going to come in different ways. And so I figured just in case someone had different scenarios, not to have a hard coded list of bullets that they had to go through, but just to have like a general area of here's ways you can contribute, fill in whatever makes sense for you.
Okay, so not necessarily detailing what people need to fill, but some comment about, what are possible or suggestions on what work you can highlight. Okay, I'll make that change then.
Do we want to chat a little bit since we have people from the other call? Like, does anyone have a good idea of Docker's kind of like approach to what they were saying on Tuesday? Tianan, you work at Docker now.
Don't tell anyone. Yeah, so the things that Chris and Tonus are talking about are honestly things that I didn't have any visibility on until like 60 days ago. So I'm probably not the best person to talk about them. But they are planning to come back with some kind of proposal F as proposed. So
Okay. That's really good to know. Yeah, personally, even though we've been making progress on the E, I don't mind if they put something up and it works and works for everything. I'm mostly confused about what it looks like, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, the way I've been looking at their recent conversations is that even if all this ends up being is good practice for explaining why E is the best option, because we're gonna have to do that to all the other maintainers. This is a useful exercise, right? It's lower stakes than that final conversation with the maintainers is gonna be. So I think from my perspective, it seems like it's been really productive and helpful to have someone like poking a little stick at it and going, hey, can you guys justify why you made this specific choice?
Is are folks just talking in the PR about the not PR but the filed issue about the reasons?
So, Nisha, I think you were there on Tuesday, right? Yeah, we basically there was just, it seemed like there was just going to be ongoing back and forth. And so even though, it makes more work for Chris and them, I think the only way we can really evaluate what they're saying is for them to submit a proposal. So I put I opened a new issue, which is like, and tagged them on it and said, open a proposal and we'll go from there. Cause I don't think we can just like take shots at proposal E if there's not an alternative. I mean, you can take shots, but then you have to kind of say what's, so then what instead of that.
So my understanding was that they would prefer no changes.
Well, so that's sort of what I'm trying to get at is if the whole thing is like go away working group, then I think we have to ignore it. But if they actually want to provide an alternative, then I think that's fine
Maybe-
too. And we also, go ahead.
Maybe I can speak to this point a tiny bit. I think one thing that Chris has mentioned to me is that he's specifically concerned that because we have a fallback of just using tags, that everyone's going to start using the fallback. And there's no real incentive for registries to implement anything else because everyone's already using the fallback and they don't have to make any changes. So why should they? There's no forcing function on registries to actually make a change. There's no users begging for that change because users already have what they want. And that's his concern, is that because there's a fallback, users are going to use the fallback, registries are going to let users use the fallback, and we'll just be status quo forever.
But at the same time, we've also heard from them that it's no good if you propose something that doesn't work with existing registries, because then no registry is going to upgrade and you'll never get the feature out there and it's a dead, lame duck going out the door.
Yep.
And we've also heard that they don't like our proposal because all the tags are going to be miserable for registries to implement. They don't want to see a whole bunch of tags all over the registry server and users querying lots of manifests to pull the annotations up and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of why I want to see them actually propose what they want to propose, because I feel like we're arguing a lot of different sides of the same issue. And it's like, we need to narrow down what we're actually discussing.
Yep. And I will definitely be pushing internally for them to do so. I can commit to that at least. I'll be pushing them hard.
So that's interesting to me, that on the registry side, they don't want to see so many tags, but at the same time, their garbage collection mechanism is based on tags.
Kind of.
Okay, is there another mechanism?
So the mechanism most registries use will look at the tags. Hub extends that a little bit. They keep track of multiple revisions. And so if you overwrite a tag or do something like that, they still keep around old versions of the tag to know when you're pulling by like a pin digest, it doesn't immediately go away when you just overwrite the tag kind of stuff. So at least that's the description I've seen, and it mirrors what I've seen in practice of actually querying Hub, that stuff sticks around even when it's not tagged.
So the metric that they're using is how many requests for a digest?
Their big concern, and one that I actually share, and the reason that I made some of the implementation decisions on my side of trying to do this, is if you have all these tags, one, the tag API, they're concerned it's not super efficient. You got to query a tag listing to see all the tags and parse through that, and that can get a very long list and might be paged. And the second concern I heard from them was, okay, you find 20 manifests that all, or 20 tags that all look like something you might want to query. The only thing you have is that little extension that says this is an SBOM or this is a signature. You don't have any other detail about it. So you have to pull each one individually to find out if it's the one you're looking for. And they're worried about that overhead on the registry in terms of just querying a lot of manifest, which when you're talking about Hub is bad because that's how they do their rate limiting. And so a user might go and query one image and blow out 20 image pools in the process of doing that, just because they're querying 20 different manifest.
Okay.
I think Josh's request to submit a proposal makes the conversation much more easier, right? And given that we literally have Docker, GCR, ECR, and ACR at the table of this discussion, if we can get everybody to say, yes, we will adopt this, then maybe that's a great start. Maybe having one more person from QA would also kind of like make these things easier. If we can get a consensus of moving forward.
Oh yeah,
feel-
I'm very happy that they've joined. Like we have folks that are actually actively telling us like, no, these are our concerns. So yeah, +1, Sajay.
And I feel like the most complicated part of what we're proposing is going to fall on cloud registries that have an existing data set. And so the more feedback we get from them, the better.
So I don't think any of our proposals want to re-index existing data sets, no? Because we've kind of said in the beginning that the container is a primary artifact and we'll not touch that.
With proposal E, when you make the switch to implement the API, we assume that clients no longer query the tag listing at that point. Once the client can see that the API exists, they're not going to go back and indefinitely keep querying that same tag listing API to see if there was an old artifact that was pushed before the registry started doing it. And so at the time when the API is turned on at the registry side, we're assuming they've indexed all the content that had a digest tag pointing to it.
So now I ask my question again about versioning. Wouldn't like adding a new version give a like solid separation line between this is the old way of doing it and this is the new way of doing it? If you want to use the new way, then you can. It's up to you whether you want to maintain clients that do both.
So
Or
as a
there's
client, yeah, in that
Okay.
case, as a client, how do I handle the case where I come across a registry that has the new version? Do I need to keep querying indefinitely for the stuff that predated that?
No.
Thinking of the backward compatible solutions.
Yeah, no, I mean, this may be my, ignorance speaking, but there are already existing clients that query like index.docker.com/v2. So those clients can continue to query that. if a new client is made, you can either say like, okay, we're no longer going to query V2, we're only going to query V3, or you can have a client that says we can query both V2 and V3. I mean, it's kind of similar to the way that, so in Python, there is a module called 6, which queries, which kind of does the backwards compatibility for you. If you're using Python 3, then you can use 6 to convert that to Python 2.7. So, I mean, I get the feeling that.
Well, let me throw a specific example out.
Okay.
That might drive the conversation a little better. There's like Debian version 6 images sitting on a Docker Hub today are still schema v1. So I still have to support schema v1 a lot of my code. If we say the solution is going to be a hard version update, version 3, there is no backward compatible solution. I think Docker already came back and said, no, you need something that's going to work today. And so let's say we build something that has a solution that works today. And so if someone updates the Debian version 10 or whatever the next release is, I should know these version numbers better. They push the latest one out and they include the SBOM, they include the signatures on that image today with some kind of backward compatible solution. And the only solution we've come up with so far involves tags. And so there's going to be you have to do a tag listing, query all the tags out there, find your details, find your SBOM, find your signature, find all the data. When you introduce the version 3, or however we do the upgrade to the newest release of whatever the new feature is, do we still have that SBOM and that tag sitting out there for version 10 of the Debian image that you have to go out and do a tag listing and query? Or are registries on their side required to do some kind of translation to make that a version 3 compatible data?
Maybe I'm having like, maybe my internal model of registries is not correct. But my understanding is that as far as the registry is concerned, these are just blobs. So if you're going to like keep existing container images with the tags, they will just stay the same. But the artifacts, the new artifacts that come in that get queried through V3, those also look like blobs as far as the registry is concerned. It's just that what we need to take care of is that existing clients, when they query the registry for a digest and instead get an artifact that they don't know anything about, they should just ignore it. And I believe that's how it's implemented now.
Yeah, so you've got blobs and you've got manifest, and they get treated differently by the registry. And so blobs are opaque. We don't look inside, or we shouldn't. I think some registries do if they know what the blob's supposed to be. But we usually treat the blob as opaque and it's just a string of bytes. But the manifest, the registry is looking at, because it's going and querying saying, how is this manifest associated with what blobs? And so
okay, so that's the thing that I'm missing, is that there are registries that do look at manifests and say, okay, this looks, I'm supposed to index this in this particular way. So if you add more stuff, then the registry operator will have to implement some separate logic to go and index all the stuff that are not container images.
Yeah, well, that's something that all registries do today. They'll see, okay, this is an index manifest versus this is an image manifest. And we're going to introduce later on this an artifact manifest. And that says, here are all the blobs that I'm associated with, or here are the other manifests that I point to. And so it needs to know how to parse that manifest and how to look up all the data. And if we start putting new data in that manifest that they haven't looked at before, that's when we get into the question of they might have to go and re-index something that they previously saw but didn't know how to parse the data within that manifest.
So maybe I can shed some light on a different perspective with respect to V3 and V2. Changing the route URL to V3, I think during the extension API, we discussed a bunch of these things, which is a lot of operators, small and big, have V2 as a kind of like a point in their configuration, ingress controllers and whatnot, that this is where we jump off and say, this is everything under /v2 is Docker. If we introduce something like /v3, that is a pretty significant change, is what was discussed at that point in time for multiple operators. So it's non-trivial is what I can say if we wanted to add something like /v3. So if we can get reference types working on the /v2, that would be really, really great. But I don't think we should not discuss whether V3 is an option, and that's what one of the proposals did. But I would strongly encourage if we can stick under V2, because blobs manifest APIs and all those APIs don't need to change. And introducing one new API doesn't probably require a full major version bump from both routing as well as schemas, is probably one thing that might help the discussion. That's kind of my 2 cents on why I'm scared of kind of like moving to V3, changing all our internal routes and external routes, and even people who run routing within their own clusters and whatnot will have a lot of changes to do with respect to authentication and whatnot.
Yeah, as much as we all throw up our hands and scream and say no as soon as someone says to change your version number, and I'm definitely one of them, I think the underlying question that Nisha's getting at, though, can still be solved the way that you and I are looking at it, Sajay, of, hey, there's a new API available, something changed. Okay, we realize that the registry has new capabilities. And then it's just a question of, now, is there that need for re-indexing and that kind of question? So I think the problems are the same. The question is probably, we would need to rephrase it, but I think we're all on the same page, at least on that part of it.
Yeah. So at least from my point of view, what I am seeing is that folks would like to be able to, make a very clear distinction between the changes that we are adding with this and whatever is existing. It feels to me like, in that, if you think about it that way, proposal E makes sense, but without the upgrade path. So it's, it feels to me like that's what the folks at Docker want, is, allow folks who have adopted Docker to continue using Docker the way that they've used it before, and any new adopters will not stomp on any of those users if they're using the same registry.
Yeah, I think a key detail to make sure, just for adoption, is that we definitely need to have a solution there that covers existing registries. And then if we can solve it with just existing registries and existing tools and no change needed, great. But if we have the option to add other features that make life better, what do those features look like? And I think that's where we've been going, because so many of the questions on the reference types have been saying, hey, tags are horrible, we don't like that solution. And I'm in that camp, but they get us at least partway there today. And so then the next step is, where does it look like if we go to that next step? Go ahead, Sajay.
I just want to do a time check with Josh or anybody else. Is there any other item on the agenda, or we just kind of like just want to make sure that
I have nothing. I'm glad we were able to kind of chat about stuff, but I have nothing.
Yeah, I don't have anything beyond like that PR, so I'll submit a change and can take a look at it later, not in this meeting.
I would like to move on getting Brandon and Sajay into image spec. So if we can get Nisha's thing and then I can re-nominate, or someone can nominate, and then Tina can click a green button, and I don't know if we're all on the same page on that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Do you want me to make the change now?
If you do it today, just ping me, and I
Okay.
don't even have rights on that repo, so. it would be
Okay,
some-
yeah, I'll let everyone know when I'm done.
Sorry, Josh, I'm not an image spec maintainer.
We need a way to add a maintainer, apparently.
All right, well, my mind is blown. I gotta go. I'll see y'all online.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
I might as well leave too.
We all out of topics for the day.
Yeah,
We don't have a maintainer here for doing image printing, do we? In terms of, or I mean, like issue PR printing, something like that.
no.
Yeah. Amy, any big topics you want to talk about for like the open source summit coming up?
I mean, there is one. That is the answer. There is one coming up in June. Yes.
I should really work on my presentation for that.
I mean,
You
it is customary that one writes the talk before you give it, generally.
You didn't hear me say that, but yeah, I
course
should really
not.
work on it.
I mean, like not working it on the plane is also like, a time-honored tradition. I understand. I am currently tracking towards being at Open Source Summit North America in Austin as well. So hoping to see some of you there.
Looking
was all I
forward
had.
to it.
Is that in June, Amy?
Correct.
Oh boy.
I know. Faster than you might expect. Who knew?
I'm still trying to submit a talk for KubeCon North America.
Yes, and that deadline is actually extended as well. To June
Yes.
3rd.
So
I
excited.
mean, you should still do it. Don't
Yes.
look at me like that. Do not take that as a challenge. However, yes.
Okay,
Cool.
I guess I'll also
Yeah,
leave.
actually use the
Thanks, Emma.
time to go work on your talks, everyone. There. This
Yeah.
is a lovely opportunity to be able to spend 30 minutes working on that thing that otherwise might not have gotten done, right?
I like
Indeed.
that plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for
All right.
joining, everyone.
Thank you.
Get back to work. Bye all.
Till next week.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.